Hello, welcome everybody. Come on in if you're in the back, just make your way on in. Hey, hopefully you're having a great time at UE Fest. Everybody having a good time so far? Yeah? Okay. So we have the privilege of having some of the most brightest minds in the broadcast space. We're going to get to know each one of them in a little bit. We're talking about, today's topic is the future of sports coverage, insights, and innovation. And we have some serious talent here. So I want everyone to go down the line. We'll just do some quick introductions and get to know who the panelists are. But I'll hand it off to Fabian from Telemundo. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you for having me, and thank you for being here. I am Fabian Albarracin, or Fabian. I have been working on the broadcast industry for almost 30 years, and I have the opportunity to work with great companies around the world, doing high-profile projects. And in my last 10 years, I have been working with NBC, Telemundo, trying to innovate and in real-time graphics and see what is next. That's what I am.
Yeah, perfect. How about you, Zach?
Hey, Zach Fields, oversee our real-time group at Fox Sports. So we basically design, produce, support all of our studio shows, remote operations. Also deal with new technology as well, with both studio shows and remote events.
Cool. And Spike?
Mike Shakovny. Everybody calls me Spike. It's a bad nickname I got back in the 80s. A really short, blonde, spiky haircut, Billy Idol. For those of you who remember Billy Idol, that was how the nickname. So now it seems odd to call a 60-year-old man Spike, but you guys can call me Spike. Anyways, I've been in the business a long time. I got you beat by a little bit, Fabian, probably like 40 years now, which is crazy. I've done just about everything. I came up in the production end, so I was a producer and a director, then jumped over to the creative side, and now in charge of at ESPN, the animation team, the graphics innovation team, which is all our AR, VR, touchscreens, stuff like that, our altcasts, and then also the edit team as well, too. So, yeah, I'm just happy to be here and happy to share the stage and talk about what we do.
Yeah, well, thanks, guys. So quick agenda, we're going to do the introductions, and then we're going to hop over to do 3 different projects. We got the Paris Olympics from Telemundo. We got Fox Sports with the Euro Soccer of the Summer, or Summer of Soccer, and ESPN, kind of all things. It's going to be a little bit of a mixed bag, but we're going to cover Monday Night Football and NBA Finals and SportsCenter and alt broadcasts. So it's going to bring us into a panel discussion, and then we'll give you guys a chance to get up and ask us questions. We'll have a little Ask Us Anything. So let's hop over to the Paris Olympics. So Fabian, you guys built this amazing virtual environment for the Paris Olympics, but we have a few slides we'll run through and then we'll show a sizzle. But why don't you just tell us a little bit of a brief, overview from your perspective of, what you guys are doing for the Paris Olympics?
What you see here is the work of 5 years. We started working on Olympics 2020, and we are getting better and better. And with this project in particular, this is the first time that we use Unreal 5.3, and we are able to add lumen to the scene and nanite, but most importantly, in real time, because that was the challenge that we have.
Yeah.
But as you can see, we've really focused on the details, because if this is going to look cartoonish or viewers, they don't want that. They're going to change the channels, but that's why you see the texture on the floor, the texture on the ceiling, the clouds. We are able now with Lumen to replicate the sun, the shadows, the statues. We had to bring people just to do that, because that is a different skill that we don't have. And we have people with the skills for texturing in gaming. So we apply gaming techniques in our sets, because gaming and broadcast is totally different, very different approach. So we need to fill those gaps. We need to fill the gap to see how we're gonna put this on air to run in real time, because this show is not like a 10 minutes or 30 minute show. This was 8 hours on air every single day.
Yeah.
and it was a challenge. And as you can see, we were able to replicate the day, sunset, night version. If we zoom in to any of the city, we should be able to see all the details in the building, all the details in the Eiffel Tower. We also put tourists on the Eiffel Tower that is moving around. And that gives us the realism that we need. And for our viewers, they didn't know that the Italians were in Paris.
Yeah, it's definitely a pretty awesome project. I saw, and you'll see in some of the clips, when you zoomed in, I saw like cars moving and little details in the background. So it's all those little hints of realism that kind of sell that illusion. So.
And those cars were made in Unreal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, those are really making Unreal.
Were they part of our city assets or anything like that? Did you?
For that specific, no, we had to replicate that. But, we have to research how Unreal behave with the cars, because that is not our expertise.
Yeah.
So I have one technical artist just spent like 4 days just trying to figure it out how we're gonna do all the cars moving
Traffic
the whole
system.
day. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
That's cool. Well, I'm gonna roll a sizzle. We'll take a look, and then there's some behind the scenes B-roll that we'll take a look at next. So go ahead and enjoy, guys.
Es subido, ¿no? La cruz y nos tocó.
Todo día tenemos mañana por delante. Mañana.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. So I'll roll the next one, but if you can make sure the audio's down so we can talk over top of it. But we'll play a little bit of a kind of just general behind the scenes. But you'll see more green screen and stuff like that. What were some of the challenges, for you guys, on a technical level for this kind of project? You said broadcasting every day, 8 hours, and
that was like 5 years ago when we started doing this. We saw Unreal Engine leading the gaming industry. And then the film industry started using this with amazing results. Mm-hmm. And we said, how are we going to use Unreal for broadcast? And we tested out the LEDs, but it didn't fit our needs. Mm-hmm. So that's when we decided, okay, we're going to build a chroma key set for the virtual sets and AR. That was the first decision. And the second one is what really want to show to our viewers. And we said, first is quality, mm-hmm. and then has to be on time. Mm-hmm. And for our clients, it has to be within budget. So all these three combined, this is the final result. And this set that you see here it's a big set. It's more than 3,000 square feet. I think it's one of the biggest one in US.
Oh, wow. That's very cool. Very well done. Well, I'm sure people are going to have a lot of questions when we hit the Q&A section, but congrats. That's super awesome.
Thank you.
We're going to head over to Zach next, and we'll talk about their Euro 2024 and summer soccer. But Zach, I know we had connected last year mid-cycle, and you were like, hey, we're going to be doing this big set, we got this crazy design for it. But maybe talk about, what it's like overall, kind of helping organize all of that to be able to put on a tournament of that scope and what you guys are thinking. We'll run through kind of 5-6 slides here of some of the visuals, and then we'll get into the sizzle.
Sure. So we started in broadcasting some LED a couple of years ago, so 2022 with our NFL show. And it was sort of like a alpha
Yeah.
At that point. It was, trying to cover up the leaky fire hose with different Band-Aids every which way every Sunday.
Yeah.
Somehow got through. Next year got a little easier, and we started to really improve, and a lot of learning on the fly. But we were in Australia 2022 for the Women's World Cup, and there was some talks of when we have big global events, a lot of times we like to bring our studio shows out there for the environmental factor, have fans around. And we have this event, Summer Soccer, which was the Euros and Copa. And, we kind of argued, myself and Gary Hartley, who's my boss, that, why should we build a set on location when we have, one of the best LED, volumes out there? Let's go all in and design a set specifically to this. So multi-environments specifically geared towards the functionality that production wants. And so that evolved into, just by happenstance, met up with an architect in New Zealand. We contracted them out. They came back with some incredible designs. So we were learning a lot of back and forth there. They weren't using Unreal.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of,
remember that.
Yeah, guiding them on how we need the files prepped and where that kind of handoff took place.
Yeah.
Which was instrumental, and they actually were able to take it a really good way so that it's a little more optimized for us to take in.
Mm-hmm.
Still a lot of work once we kind of took in that environment, but in terms of dealing with production, it was kind of a lot for them to take in as well, because it's a different way of thinking. Mm-hmm. We have a pretty big volume. It's about 40 feet wide, 22 feet deep, and so they wanted to have a lot of different relation shots, and they wanted to shoot as if they're on location. And there are sacrifices. You need to rethink how you shoot things, how you're going to go from one scene to the next. And so it was a lot of that. And then, one thing that always comes up, and I'm sure you guys deal with it too, is optimization. One thing with broadcast as well is, I was talking about it last night, is it has to run in real time. Mm-hmm. And if you drop, a couple frames on air, it's, you get, hey, what just happened there?
Yeah.
And it's not an easy thing to say, well, it's not performing.
Yeah.
Can you get rid of it? Well,
no, it's
maybe.
the set.
So, that's one key thing that we went through, and you'll see in the video, like the scale of it, it was enormous. Like if you actually built the model, it was over 50,000 square feet of space. So that became different. So you make certain concessions in different areas to get that to run in real time. But really fun experience. And our production team, it was a little bumpy at first in terms of you wrapping their arms around it. But I think as they went, they really adapted and really kind of like took pride in like what they could make this for the show.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll jump in and take a look at a little bit of the sizzle.
The other thing that, to mention here is, which we did differently, you'll see a lot of the animations, everything was tied together, and usually, you have an idea of what your animation package is before. It was the reverse here. We got the design for the set, and we loved it so much. It was like, hey, how do we tie this into our graphical animations, all those pre-rendered animations? And so that's why there's, it's pretty cohesive throughout the entire package. We felt pretty strong about.
Yeah, for sure. When you were sending this, I saw, man, there were so many on-air graphics. Like you guys, it's not only the set, but it's all the kind of, elements that are on top of the set. And again, trying to get those to run in real time, added bonus.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, you can see there's different design themes all the way throughout that are used heavily in both.
And in the same way, how long were you guys on air, like throughout the whole, was it a month-long tournament?
It was, so the Euros were, I think it was a little over a month between, both the tournaments. I want to say it was like 5 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks. I think we started the design of the set in probably around January with our architectural friends. I think they handed it off late February, early March, and there was a lot of time spent in optimization and, texturing and all that.
Sure. And were you guys using the ghost frame and multiple angles with this?
Yeah, so this is LED, so it's multi-camera. So we're using ghost frame technology. And the walls are actually, those engines are displaying in 4K.
Oh, wow.
So we lose a little bit of performance there, which is, there's a balance to be had. But that's one of the things we went through with our production team is with ghost frame, there are ways to improve it, but at that time you're really only 4 simultaneous, what we call slices, so individualized camera perspectives. So we had to get a little bit creative in terms of how you could pair cameras to get up to 6 at that point.
Yeah, that's a unique challenge.
But it's funny though, like let's say a production has 8 cameras, and you probably deal with this as well, is if you tell them they're going to lose a few cameras, they don't actually, they feel like they're never going to be able to do the show, and all of a sudden they realize like, 4 cameras, I can kind of get by.
Yeah, we only use 2 most of the time. So, well, cool.
So yeah, this is an example right here of a player interstitial with sort of that theme of all the texturing behind.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. Okay, thank you so much, Zach. We're gonna head over to Spike and do all things ESPN. I know I jump right into a sizzle after this, Spike, so I'll let you kind of talk a little bit about it. But you guys have been using Unreal on many different areas, across different projects, whether it's Sports Center and Monday Night Football and NBA Finals, alternate broadcasts. So, I mean, anything you want to kind of prep the team for, like they're about to see, or?
I mean, you mentioned it. When I met Andy, really met Andy a couple years ago, I was like, man, we really want to get in on this. And so we talked about trying to do some projects together. And, we did the Rose Parade together with Avalanche, and we were, you were developing that. And that was the first time, but we use it for graphics visualization. We use it for like our enhanced content graphics, like you see on Monday Night Football. We're doing what we're calling digital twins. So we're able to recreate our studios, and we don't have to fire up a whole studio to put product placement in there. And that obviously generates money and saves money both at the same time. We have an LED volume stage, which we're using it for, and a chroma key stage as well. And then we use it in our mocap stuff and alternative broadcasts, something that I think we've been really successful on up to this point. So, big stuff like the NBA Finals you're going to see in here. Again, we wanted to create this big open in this space. So yeah, you could roll it and just sort of get a gist of everything that I just talked about.
Awesome. You can bring the volume up if you want. Nice, very cool, very cool. A lot of cool stuff in there. So yeah, we're going to move into kind of a QA section here with the guys. Obviously, total respect. You guys lead projects that millions of people watch, every day in their homes. So just going through the breadth of the work is fantastic. But for me, coming from the Unreal side, I'm curious just to see how has like the Unreal Engine helped you guys transform your broadcast and In what way do you guys think about Unreal when you have your next big project coming up and you're thinking of, executing your next dreams and visions? Like, how does Unreal, play into that today? I don't know, Fabian?
Well, Unreal Engine really transformed the broadcast, because when we're gonna do a virtual set, it's not like okay, we're gonna do a virtual set. There has to be a reason. And Paris is a good example, because we couldn't be in the best spot in Paris. So now that we don't have that spot, is okay, we have talent in Paris doing the open ceremony and the close ceremony, but in the middle, now we put the virtual set just to make sure that we have the best view. So for me, the way that we see it is Unreal Engine gives us the opportunity to do the impossible. It's impossible to be in the Trocadero Plaza without people around, without security. We don't have to worry about the weather that send a lot of people to Paris.
Yeah.
It really transformed the industry, at least for us.
Yeah, and just being able to be at home and kind of, when equipment breaks or whatever, you can pull that from your own home-based studio versus, flying something in halfway across the world.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to have all the people in the headquarters to make sure that everything runs perfect.
Yeah, very cool. How about for you, Zach? What do you think on this question as far as how's Unreal transformed some of the ways you guys work?
I mean, whether it's TV, film, broadcasters, we're all storytellers. We're always trying to provide our production teams with tools to tell those stories. And so, if I'm first speaking at our studio shows, one of the things that used to come up would be like, hey, can you do this?
Yeah.
And like, now it's not really a question of can you do it? It's like, how long is this going to take?
Yeah.
Which is good and it's bad. But so, they'll come up with so many different creative ideas. And obviously, how much time do we actually have to build this out? One of the things that we really notice is with Unreal Engine, it's like, as everyone knows, it's a really complex software. You do get people, it takes a little bit to get into, but it does feel like kind of when you break through, you're able to do things a little quicker. As weird as that sounds, like it's so complex, but like once you're into it and you've done a lot of different things, it can be very modular. And so I feel like that, you can bring out ideas even that much quicker when things do come up.
Yeah, a little bit of legwork goes a long way when you need to make the next version of the thing or.
Absolutely. And like, so a lot of it plays easier in a studio environment. We are starting to do a lot of the stuff on remotes too. Some of the, similar to what you guys have done, which is an amazing, display of like the different possibilities. And that's what's interesting as well, is like, it's soon you're just blending and you don't necessarily know what's Unreal and not. Before it was like, oh, they're doing AR, it's got to be Unreal. Now it's this whole,
set extension
things,
can look, photoreal in some cases, for sure. How about you, Spike? Anything different? I know you started doing your Monday Night Football cartoons and other items like that we spoke a few years ago on, but any things you're seeing,
Yeah, I just think, to echo, like, in our business, right, you got to have things done fast, right? Speed is always something. Be able to look at stuff in real time on these, real cinematic like animations, and then be able to make changes very quickly is really helpful. And then, of course, transporting people and, as being storytellers, to almost anywhere, to do anything that you want to do at this point in time, it really is taking things to a different level, right? And it's funny because when we started using Unreal, it was like, I felt like Andy a few years ago, it was like, everybody's got to get to Unreal. We all can running towards Unreal and try to figure it out. And we've settled into a nice thing where, it's a really nice another tool in our tool belt, right? We have all these things and we've learned how to use it effectively. But when you use it the right way, it's very powerful.
Yeah, there was definitely a trend where it was like, I don't know what this Unreal thing is, but put it on the show, I want it, you know? And I think we're past that phase. And it's now more like the right tool, right job, right time kind of thing. So, I mean, maybe that leads to this next question I have here about just the key features, things that you guys feel like are killer like applications. I know I was personally impressed with your chroma key, Fabian, and just the quality of that kind of thing. But is there anything in Unreal that you feel like just leverages stuff other broadcasting software typically hasn't been able to do, whether it's animation, effects, particles, but any things that stick out to you?
Yeah, for me, it's Unreal gives us the realism that we need. That's the first thing. So if you look at the lighting, that you are doing better and better, the lumen, the nanite, the texturing is so complex. Or the blueprints that we have for texturing is just another level.
Yeah.
When the people came, I said, this is just one texture? And I said, yes, this is just one texture. So the realism, the flexibility, because now we can create things for a small event or for big events. And that is really good. And we can use the same space. Same chroma key. We can do one production in the morning, one at the afternoon, and one at night. And we don't have to build sets. We don't have to waste wood, metal, all that kind of stuff. I think Unreal Engine is helping with all that.
Yeah. How about for you, Zach? I mean, you are more in the XR realm of things. You know, I think you guys helped pioneer some of the early work, you know, obviously in broadcasting, but like what sticks out to you that's something that's maybe key?
I mean, I think everyone would probably say the realism is a huge thing with Unreal and why it pushed people originally to it.
Yeah.
I do think the ability to adapt to changes really quickly once you do have those people that are kind of experts in the software is tremendous. And so we, you know, after getting through maybe the first year or so, you start to really see those, you know, reap the rewards of that really quickly and turn those ideas around so much faster. And as we're getting more into animation style graphics, I think that's going to be key where, you know, I've seen creative directors sit down with a designer and they can make changes, I mean, infinitely faster, like live changes. Yeah. And that's amazing to watch. And, you know, so it's just so much more efficient in that manner.
Yeah. Little plug, if you haven't seen, I did a motion graphics talk yesterday, but it will be online at some point. You guys should check it out if you haven't seen it. But obviously there's a lot of tools coming to Unreal Engine for motion graphics artists. But yeah, I'm interested to see, like, what's the feedback from your creative teams? Has this breathed new life into some of the creatives that you guys work with? Like, are they super passionate about Unreal and excited? What's the buzz, I guess, you know?
I think everyone to jumping into the Unreal Engine. Not even us as the broadcast for just put it on air, but now for motion, we are looking for how we're going to integrate this for on-air graphics. And the production team, I think the feedback has been great. They really appreciate the flexibility that we have. As you said, if we're gonna have AR monitor in the middle of the Plaza del Trocadero, we can do it bigger, we can move it in real flight, in real time. So to have that flexibility, that is what they wanted right now.
Yeah.
And now we cannot go back.
Yeah.
It's difficult to go back.
Yeah, so you've raised the bar and now it's kind of, you know, the expectation is there, like, hey, we're going to do even more. What about for you, Zach? You know, lead creative teams and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we've been pushing people, you know, from our team to learn it as much as possible for the last, you know, 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Some have really adapted to it. And those are the people that rise up. They do have to take it on themselves to really learn it. You know, you have to, there's a lot, there's thousands of tutorials online that you need to kind of get into. And there are so many that actually really embrace it. And like Spike was saying, it's a tool. You know, maybe at some point you're only using that, but you know, right now you're utilizing many different softwares with it. And so it's really important that these designers can, they know exactly what it can do, and where they need to jump into something else, whether it's, you know, modeling, texturing, whatever that is. And in terms of, they're very excited for motion designer, as I am as well, because I think it's an easier entry point for some of our other talented designers that are maybe a little scared of like, oh my God, this is a little overwhelming to jump into. I think that's really exciting for us. In production, I kind of mentioned it, but real quick, I mean, they just love being able to, you know, come up with some
crazy
way out there idea and, you know, us execute it, whether we think it's, you know, good or cheesy. Something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the big things for me, and for those of you who had seen me talk before, like, I think one of the nice entry points is like, I'm always looking to get like younger people, the new generation and stuff. And I think this is a tool that like really resonates, right? Because it comes from video games right off the bat. So ultimately, you know, I see an explosion continuing to happen even further, and it will be easier to find people eventually, right? And stuff once so we're seeing that, like, you know, and that's not to say that people have been working in my or other, you know, Cinema 4D can't adapt, and some of my best people have adapted and have learned it as well. Yeah. But the excitement amongst a lot of the newer people to really jump into it is really fun, and that always brings such a great vibe to the team. Yeah, I think that's a really important part of it.
Yeah, I remember I was on a call with Spike, and he's like, "Hey, can you help? You know, we're trying to do these Monday Night Football cartoons, and we have like a 4-day turnaround to, you know, make an animated short that's going to be in front of 17 million people." I was like, "Oh, yeah, no pressure," you know. And so, you know, I just remember Colin being like, "Hey man, this is amazing. Like there's no other tool on the planet I could do this quick at work and this fast in." So,
and because on those things, the production doesn't like something. Yeah. Now you're back to a total re-render where, you know, in Unreal, we just knock that stuff out pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really cool to see. So overall, like what are some of the trends you guys are seeing? You know, it could be in the industry. In general, you know, doesn't necessarily have to be Unreal related, but just trends, you know, maybe even with the audience being younger, you know, adapting to those type of things. But like, what are some of the trends, you know, that you guys are seeing in the industry?
Well, in our case is linear broadcast is no longer the same. So now we see the young generation is always watching the cell phone, the VR glasses. So we are looking to see how we're going to fill those gaps now, because the entertainment is there, but we need to bring that entertainment to the new generations. That is the trend that we see it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I think one of it was discussed for years, still kind of comes up, is how do you bridge the gap between like linear and digital? And I think it remains to be seen in terms of like, you know, people are on their phone. They do watch. Like, you know, if I'm watching a football game, I could go and I get the stats on my phone within 5 seconds. Yeah. It's going to be a lot quicker than maybe flipping to another station. But I do think it's almost like, I think that there will be something that evolves in terms of like what you guys have done with alternate broadcasts, where, you know, you've augmented with whether it's layered AR graphics or other stats that Unreal Engine can help out. But one of the things that I think it really will sort of grow is you have millions and millions of content creators there on other platforms. Mm-hmm. And, you know, is there a point at which Unreal becomes, you know, easy enough for them to utilize and start, you know, reaping the rewards of what they can do with that? You know, whether it's, you know, low-end animations or elaborate maps or whatever that may be. I think that there's more content creators than ever. Yeah. And I think that's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah. And definitely Unreal with having Fortnite and FN, you know, UEFN and stuff, it definitely leads to great opportunities. Like I kind of want to pitch you a softball here, Spike, but, you know, you've been kind of the, you know, leading the charge and innovating in the alternate broadcast space here. But how many of in the room are aware of like the Toy Story game that was NFL, you know, related? Okay, so yeah, a lot of people here, but Spike and his team were that was their brainchild and really pushing in this space. But, you know, how do you see that as a trend, you know, continuing to grow, or maybe just share with us?
Yeah, I think it's a couple of things, right? It's trying to get people interested that might not be, like audience expansion is such a big deal for us, right? You know, you're always going to get the hardcore fan, and you know, the unique part of ESPN being owned by Disney and working for the Disney Corporation is this tremendous IP that we just have. And so how do we bridge that with sports and try and make things a little bit more, you know, interesting or for people to watch? And that's what the genesis of a lot of those broadcasts, and then the fact that we can, you know, work with companies that can create a volumetric game, and then you layer our IP on top. And you know, it's just a great storytelling tool. And, you know, we are storytellers at heart. I think everybody up here agrees that that's a big part. And, you know, we get to use our imaginations to like sort of restore order when and this is just another example. And we give people hope to see new things. And I think that's what the volumetric broadcasts do. That's kind of what our big thing is. Like we were talking about cameras, like in volumetric, you can have more cameras in the Super Bowl, like, right?
Yeah.
And you can put them anywhere. And so we've really tried to, to be leaders in that space. And like I said, combine that with the IP. And I think we have a tape just to roll and show a little bit. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the stuff here.
Okay.
This is from the Toy Story game.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Alongside Booker McFarlane, Carter.
So this was obviously Andy's room where the game was played, and our friends from Silver Spoon helped us out, Dan in the crowd, with mocap for our talent to do these explainers.
Art of getting to the quarterback. Here we go. Now Boog is in uniform.
You can't do that in the studio.
Putting ham on their pizza. We're starving now after seeing that. And Boog, it looks like
Again, a great example of photorealism, bringing the Pizza Planet pizzas to the studio, to the house, Andy's house.
It is hard work here at Andy's room, and it looks like our pizza delivery has finally arrived. We've got our halftime food. There it is, Boog. Nice grab.
Yeah, good hands by a big defensive tackle, and it smells so good.
And this was our Big City Green, so we are doing a little bit of a skills competition. So this is totally done in Unreal. And again, getting to play with the IP of their characters, but being able to storyboard out and then create our own little short. This was obviously the announcers voiced this over live, and it was a skating competition between Tilly and Remy. And this was just so much fun to do. Colin did this all, and it was just a great, they didn't like something, we usually fixed it. And again, it just really brings people imaginations back, like nostalgia is a big deal. And we have a blast doing them. Like this is, it's so funny when you walk into this. It takes less, you got that $1 billion studio going, your volume, and that's what this is, right? A couple of card tables, a couple of computers, and a couple of headsets, and
some guys in pajamas with ping pong balls.
Yeah,
Those tables weren't that expensive.
no, and it was tough getting the big guys into their suits, right, Dan? We had to squeeze them in, but it just gives a lot of opportunity to do some fun stuff, and even for the talent that's interested, right? It's not like just doing a regular game.
Yeah.
They get to have some fun with this.
How they feel with all those points and the camera in their faces?
Pardon me?
How they feel with all those points and the camera in their faces?
They're okay, they're like Drew Carter's great. He loves doing this stuff, and Weeks has done a lot of stuff with the NHL Network and stuff and that. So they're pretty good. We've got them wearing the headsets the whole time now, and
we find the talent really buy into like these new ideas. It doesn't matter. You put them in a different environment, they'll figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd like to get a little more rehearsal time with them every once in a while.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool to me to see, implementing some of these new technologies that kind of have always been this offline, doing the motion capture, you'd get arms wigging out and all that kind of stuff. And this is kudos to Dan and his team. They've helped figure out a lot of the kinks, and now we can utilize these things along with metahumans and other items that tech that Epic uses and owns. But fully live in a broadcast, it's truly amazing, And
people really respond to these things. They really
Yeah, the viewership was really high with this
viewership's
spike, right?
high. It brings new people. When we did Toy Story, we saw a spike on Disney Plus of people watching all the other movies again. So there's different things that come out of it that really do help out. And again, just, I think we probably all agree. It's like when you get to work on this stuff, it's like, it's fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All the other stuff, it's not as important as all the other stuff we do, but it's really fun. And
yeah. And I'm sure you found it a lot of fun working with Pixar and the other teams within Disney. It was just a blast.
Yeah, it's nice to meet new people and again, you get a lot of new ideas and see how everybody does stuff. Pixar, they take 4 years to make a movie. When we told them we had 2.5 months to do this, they were like 2.5. We really had to get our cadence together on how to work together.
Yeah.
But it's just a lot of fun. And again, it's the new tools. And I'm excited to see where you guys go with a lot of this stuff. It's just, again, it just helps us present things in a new, different way.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a little bit about this, all of us separately, but we're definitely really interested to see where we could go, taking some of that live sports data, bringing that into our world. Obviously, Fortnite is a gigantic platform, and all people enjoy sports, and the younger generation enjoys sports. But maybe there's a new way to consume it, on our platform. So we may be up here a couple of years from now, talking about how that all happened. But this leads to the next question. Like, how do you see Unreal Engine evolving, in the next few years? Mentioned some of the stuff, motion graphics we're working on, some of the digital twins you're working, but where do you want to see it go, Fabian?
Well, I was in Unreal Fest last year, and I see how this year you are focused more on the broadcast side. And if this is continue, I see more data integration, more AI tools. The community is bigger and bigger all the time, so it's going to be easier to find talent people to work with us to do all these great projects. Now with the announcement with the megalights, that is also going to help us with more realism.
Yep.
So 100%. I see a good future for you guys and for us too.
For sure. How about you, Zach? Anything?
I actually feel like the development of motion designer is going to be quite large. So obviously being in broadcast, that's big for us. But I feel really strong that giving an easier entry point for people out there to actually just get in and start creating content, I think it's going to grow. It's going to create, a larger pool of talent out there. I think it's, the usage is going to go way up, and that's going to, even spur more ideas.
Yeah, it'd be like a flywheel that
Absolutely.
just kind of gets the market going for sure.
Yeah, and I would say we're seeing that already. One of the things that's interesting is there's definitely it seems like a big learning curve once you get in, sort of, but we find our people jumping into it pretty easily, like much more. I wouldn't have said that like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think that ultimately, like you said, with more content creators out there and, really, thinking about our digital presence and stuff like that, this is going to lead and help to continue to grow all that, which is really important to our business, obviously, right? We're in a time of real change right now.
Yeah.
And, any tools that we can have to help us continue to evolve is awesome.
Yeah, and just to expand on that, not every show division has huge budgets. So, the quicker you can turn this stuff around and the quicker you can adapt it, it's that much more helpful.
More powerful to everyone, yeah, for sure. Maybe the last one here before we get to some question and answers, just, how do you see Unreal Engine help broadcasters build more interactive and engaging experiences? Are there any things you're thinking outside, like, again, the traditional broadcast, but is there anything in that area of, interactivity or engagement you guys would like to see Epic work on or collaborate together?
I think with the big companies like this, like the one that I'm working, it has to be more collaborations between us to present more content for the audience. We can have, like they did, they took the movie and put the movie into the broadcast as a cartoon, or maybe in the future we can get all the data from the soccer players and put those in the cartoon, because the kids they don't want to see the regular TV. They want to see the favorite Toy Story playing soccer. So we need to find a way how we're going to do this in the future.
Yeah, I think Fortnite's a great place for that, where we have a lot of IP coming in, and obviously we saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and other stuff yesterday, so it could be a great place. But anybody else? I know we're getting short on time, but
I kind of spoke about this a little bit earlier in terms of blending of, what those other experiences are, where you're merging data and AR visualizations. I think those things are huge as we try to figure out what does the next broadcast look like. And so while it might not be the sexiest, are there better ways to integrate even more data and leverage that?
Yeah, data's huge for you guys, obviously. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much for offering your wisdom, and we'll be here at the show, so hit us up, say hi. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.